It's a phenomenon that a lot of people are noticing and maybe even talking about. It seems like girls' periods are starting much earlier than they used to. This is a huge biological shift that's happening all over the world, and in this explainer, we're going to dig into what the science is telling us about what's going on.
You've probably heard this, right? Maybe you've even seen it in your own family or community. The fact is, it's a real global trend. So, the big question is this just the new normal for growing up? It really seems like the answer is, yeah, increasingly it is.
Okay, so let's put this into perspective. The medical term for a first period, by the way, is menarche. For generations, the average age for this was right around 12 years old. But today, it's not at all uncommon for it to happen at age 9 or 10. That 2 to 3 year drop is a massive shift in a relatively short amount of time. And it really makes you ask, why?
All right, so this is the big question. What is actually causing this shift? Well, researchers are pointing to a really complex mix of things. And it starts with factors that are pretty close to home, our bodies and our lifestyles.
First up, and this is a big one, is lifestyle. There's a really strong link in the research between early puberty and obesity or rapid weight gain, especially when you pair that with less physical activity. High levels of stress can also throw hormones completely out of whack. But here's what's kind of surprising, it's not just about being inactive. Even the super intense training of a young athlete can be enough to disrupt the body's natural rhythm. So it's not just about our daily habits. Our environment plays a huge role too. We're increasingly surrounded by these chemicals called endocrine disruptors. What they do is they can actually mimic or even block our natural hormones. We're talking about things you hear about all the time, right? Pesticides, phthalates, which are in plastics, and BPA. Even the potential for steroids in meat or hormones in our food supply is being looked at. Though, to be fair, that one definitely needs more study. And this is so important to remember. It's really easy to point fingers at these chemicals, but we have to be careful. The science is still connecting the dots between correlation, seeing two things happen at the same time, and causation, proving one thing causes the other. As this quote from the Kawadi Hospital source points out, researchers still need these massive human studies to prove a direct causal link. So for now, we've got a lot of smoke, some really strong clues, but not a smoking gun.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it's not about the outside world at all. Certain underlying health conditions can absolutely be a factor. Things like polycystic ovary system, you might know it as PCOS, or thyroid problems, or even undiagnosed diabetes. All of these can create hormonal imbalances that affect a girl's cycle right from the very beginning.
Okay, so we've looked at some of the whys, but what about the so what? I mean, why does this trend really matter? Well, the ripple effects are significant, and they impact both short-term well-being and long-term health in a major way. Right away, in the short term, you have this really tough situation. You've got a body that's developing sexually, but a mind and an emotional maturity that are still, well, a kid's. That mismatch can be incredibly difficult to navigate, and unfortunately can sometimes lead to higher risk behaviors. And on a purely physical level, an immature hormonal system can mean heavy, irregular periods, which can cause problems like anemia, and even a greater risk of infections as young girls are just learning how to manage their hygiene.
And that's just the short term. The long term is where things get really serious. Think of it like a chain reaction. Step 1, your period starts early. Step 2, this means your body is exposed to the hormone estrogen for a longer period of time over your entire life. Step 3, that prolonged exposure is scientifically linked to a higher risk of developing chronic diseases later in life. And we're talking about a higher incidence of everything from diabetes and heart disease to certain cancers, like breast and ovarian cancer.
And, beyond all the biology, there's a heartbreaking social risk we have to talk about. The research is clear on this. There's an observed and frankly very disturbing increase in sexual and physical abuse that targets girls who mature physically at a younger age. This just raises the stakes on this whole issue to another level.
I know, that is a lot to take in, and it's heavy stuff, but the story absolutely does not end with risk. So let's pivot. Let's talk about moving from just being aware of the problem to actually doing something about it. What can we do to support and protect the next generation? Look, we can't control every single thing in our environment, right? But the big takeaway here is that our lifestyle choices can make a massive difference.
It really boils down to 4 key things: helping kids maintain a healthy weight, encouraging regular physical activity, focusing on a diet rich in healthy, home-cooked foods, and doing our best to avoid processed foods and potential contaminants.
At the end of the day, all the science, all the data, it's about people. It's about young girls navigating a really tough time. And I think Dr. Vaishnavi Laxman just says it perfectly. Girls who start their periods early need constant support and meaningful input from families and doctors. That human connection, that support system, it's everything. It's non-negotiable.
So here's the bottom line. This whole trend is, well, it's complicated. There are a lot of moving parts. But the takeaway from the sources is actually pretty clear. Our choices matter. A lot. The health of the next generation is literally being shaped by the environment we create for them and the habits we teach them, which really leaves us all with one final, powerful question to think about. What choices can we help them make for their own lifelong health?